Okay, hi there. Corey Stowe with StillSpinning.ca. Today, my guest is one of my favorites within the music industry, Jeff Pilson. Obviously, he's best known probably from Foreigner, at least recently. But today, we're talking about the new End Machine album, Phase 2, which is going to be released on April 16th on Frontiers Records. So thanks, Jeff. Thanks for joining.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
You certainly...
And in case you want here, I just
yes.
It today. So
sweet.
Is that glaring? I can't.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah. No,
okay, there you go. Phase 2.
Awesome.
I just got my physical copy about a half hour ago. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. And because you said because you showed that. Do you have every single album you ever worked on, like physically, like in a CD format? No.
Yeah.
No.
No way. No way.
How many albums would you say that you worked on over the years?
I've never tallied it up. I mean, certainly got to be in the hundreds. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You'd probably have a wall of them if you actually had if you had a physical.
But I mean, all these little tribute records that I participated on, and things here. I've just so many things. So demos from people that maybe never became records. So all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Before we get into the actual album itself, just to level set everybody, how did the actual End Machine project come to be in the first place?
Well, in 2018, I believe, Serafino Perugino from Frontiers Records, who was the president, he and I were talking, and he wanted, he's sort of like, I'd like to, put some kind of a super group together. At that point, I had done a Last in Line record with him. I'd done a Warrant record, so we'd done a few records together already, and we'd done the Dokken reunion by that point too, I think. So, anyways, actually, if you want to know the real truth, it started off. Jack Russell from Great White was doing a solo record, and I don't remember exactly the connection, but somehow George was involved in that. And so George called me up and he said, "Hey, you want to work on some songs together for Jack Russell?" I was like, "Yeah, of course. Sounds great." So we started writing, and then soon after that, the whole Jack Russell thing just disappeared. I don't know why. I'm still friends with Jack, and I've never asked, so I don't know. But yeah, something went. Something just didn't come together with it. But George and I had already started writing this material, and so Serafino suggested, "Well, why don't we get Mick Brown to play on it, and then you'll have the three Dokken guys, and let's get Robert Mason from Warrant." And I had just done a Warrant record, so I've known Robert for years. George and Robert had a great relationship; they worked together. But after having done the Warrant record, I knew Robert was just the perfect guy because his voice is obvious. We all know he's a great singer, really great singer. But I knew that he was focused. I knew he was a hard worker, and I knew he was a good writer. So. I just knew it was going to be good. So we all immediately said yes and started working, and the material just fell together, and, we had a band.
Yeah.
Then this time, of course, Mick Brown has retired from playing drums, which, he's had a nice long career. Time to kick back a little.
Yeah.
But we got his little brother, Steve, and it came out great. Steve is an amazing player, great singer like Mick. And just full of enthusiasm, and came in and just nailed the shit right away. It was awesome.
And it seemed to me like you couldn't really tell of the difference in guy between one and two.
They really do. Even playing along, when I'd be playing, if I shut my eyes, it felt like Mick, and I know Mick's playing very, very, very well. So it was freaky, actually. It was a little spooky almost how much he feels like Mick to play with.
Yeah.
And how many instinctive things he does that Mick would do, and pretty cool. But yeah, perfect guy. Absolutely perfect guy for the band.
Yeah, so, and was that important, like knowing that Mick was retiring, like to get somebody like that to replace him, or did it just sort of happen?
Well, it sort of happened, but Mick wanted that. Mick wanted his brother in there. And, and then Robert and George and I were having a meeting because, of course, our first reaction when we know that Mick is retired is we're bummed.
Yeah.
He's our brother.
Yeah.
And he's a great player and a great singer, and it's great being in a band with Mick.
Yeah.
He's just a great guy to be in a band with. He adds, humor, but he's down to earth and real, and it just makes a band better having Mick Brown in the band.
Yeah.
So we were having a meeting talking, well, what are we going to do? And George said, well, why don't we just get Steve? I was like, duh, and it just fell together instantly.
And it seemed like, just by the comments you were saying, it seemed like maybe Steve, even though he was similar, still brought a new energy to the band.
He brought, he can't, he's what, 10, 12 years younger than Mick. So, he brought an enthusiasm that was very, very noticeable. And that's addictive,
For sure.
And it catches with it within the group. So, he definitely brought in an energy that we needed, and it was perfect.
Yeah. And certainly, initially, Robert Mason, as you say, is a completely awesome singer. Been a fan of his for a long time. And you said he was the perfect guy. Like, what made him the perfect guy for this quote unquote super group, which it is?
Well, for one thing, he's got a voice where he can handle melodic rock. It's not all AC/DC sounding or something.
Right.
He's got the range needed. He could do Dokken songs, and we have played live, and he can sing Dokken songs really well. And yet he's got his own flavor. He's got a bluesier, raspier voice than Don. So it's a little edgier than Don Dokken's voice. But still has that melodic quality. He's a great man, and he's a great writer. He did some great lyric writing on this record, and I'm just really proud of him for that. And I just think he's a star.
Yeah, for sure, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those songs and some of those lyrics, because there was a few songs in particular that I'm like, that is really cool song, like really cool. So we'll touch on that in a second. But was there always going to be like a second End Machine album? Because the first one was really, really good. It was like it made like the top 15 of the StillSpinning.ca, top 40 for that year. Stellar album. Was there always going to be a phase 2, if you will, or was that just because of the success and the critical acclaim that it had?
Sure, we had hoped that there would be enough demand to do another record, and there was. So that was always the plan. It was never planned to be just a one-off project. That's for sure. It was planned to be an outlet for us, and here it is. It's this melodic rock outlet for all of us that is golden. So
absolutely. And with the second album, it's like you move a little closer to the classic, like Dokken sound than the previous record. Was that a conscious decision, or did that just sort of happen in the studio?
Somewhat. It was a combination. First of all, the priority to us on this record was great songs. Whatever it took to make great songs.
Yeah.
So that was important. So we knew we wanted it to be great songs. We did want it a little more meat and potatoes. A little, we got a little experimental and perhaps a little self-indulgent on the last record, which was fun.
Yeah.
But we thought, okay, we got that out of our system.
Right.
Let's get back to a little more meat and potatoes. A little more, like you say, the classic sound. And really, what happened was, as we were working, if things, if we came up with something and it did sound kind of Dokken-y or whatever, we were like, leave it. That's cool. Why not? And we were part of Dokken. Why, are we ashamed of that? No.
Yeah.
So, why not? So just kind of, we didn't police ourselves to avoid it as much.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And with this album, you got to work with Alessandro Del Vecchio as well. What did he bring to the project for you guys?
Well, with us, he's just a mixing and mastering engineer. So he doesn't really hear this stuff until it's all recorded. Yeah. But he certainly adds. He's a very talented man, and he's got great ears, and he's a great producer in his own right. And we certainly, if we brought him in, I'm sure he'd add some things. But because he just mixes, his input is kind of minimal. But boy, does he ever do a great job on that. Yeah. I would love to work in person with Alessandro someday, just because it's. Yes. I've done several records where he's mixed them now, but it's all communicating, email, and stuff like that. I'd love to work in a room with him someday, if that ever happens again.
Well, fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed we can all get back into the studio and live and all that stuff, right? We will eventually, right? For sure. How, speaking of that, how did the COVID situation affect the actual writing of that? I mean, obviously you kind of alluded to it there with all the emails and flying back and forth and stuff like that. Is that kind of how this album was written and created?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is earlier in the year, George and I did a record together called Heavy Hitters. It was a covers record that we did.
Absolutely.
Anyways, and on that record, because we started it, I think we started it in March of last year, we were both very conscious of COVID, so we wanted to be really careful, so we knew we'd had to work remotely. But there's a program now where I'm able to run George's studio from my studio.
Oh, sweet.
So, and George doesn't even live that far away, but I would run his studio, and then we talk on Skype.
Okay.
So that's how we communicate. And so we kind of we'd gotten the bugs out by the time it came to the M Machine.
Yeah.
And we knew M Machine, with Heavy Hitters, we didn't have to write the songs. We did arrange them, so it's almost like writing sometimes.
Yeah.
But on this, we knew, we're starting from scratch writing, and weren't sure how it was going to work. But you know what? We'd get on Skype, we'd talk about it. I'd hear George's stuff through, in my studio through this program that we had.
Yeah.
And we just wrote like you and I are talking right on Skype.
Oh, that's cool.
And it helps the fact that we've known each other so long and so well that there's not many barriers that could stop us, I don't think. But we did. We had to write like that. Then when it came to writing the lyrics and melodies, because we wanted to concentrate so hard on making the songs themselves great, we had a lot of conference call writing sessions on Zoom with Robert and George and I.
Okay.
And we would just, we would create, try and work on the choruses, and whoever's idea it was didn't matter, but we wanted to craft it so we knew that the chorus and the hook were really solid, and we pretty much did that with all the songs. And on some songs, Robert took away and wrote most of the rest of it. Some of them we all did. It was kind of a combo plate.
Okay.
But primarily, Robert would be the lyric point man. And having that basis of writing together and getting the choruses together really, really solidified it.
Right.
And then I think it gave him a great framework to come up with some brilliant verses and brilliant lyrics.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I'm finding when talking to bands, it's kind of like a weird period because everybody's been locked down for so long, and the sense I get is that people have been putting a lot more focus on the lyrics and the melodies and whatever. They're more complicated, they're more complex, they're more and overall they're much more satisfying. And
you're right. I think we all had a lot to express, and so that makes for more depth.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what are the kinds of things that inspires you to write?
Just the world around me, life, experiences, feelings. Sometimes my feelings are fairly abstract. It's like I'll find myself depressed, but it's not like I can point to any one thing. It's just kind of there. So when I sort of analyze it and go through it, it kind of leads me to little awakenings within that, and sometimes those bring out great little insights that make great lyrics. So
cool.
But it's all about life experience. It really is.
And for this album, did the riffs come first? Did the music come first, or the lyrics, or how did that sort of work out?
Music came first. George and I did all the music together. Then working on the choruses with Robert and George and I on Zoom, and then Robert would take stuff away, and then he'd send an MP3 of him singing an idea or whatever.
Right.
We'd all do that back and forth.
Yeah.
And then so we pretty much had the songs written by the time Robert came here, with some loose ends that we knew we'd fix up as we got in the studio. But he actually did his vocals here. Really wanted to be one-on-one with that. And Steve did his drums here as well, too. So it was music, then vocals, then drums.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. Some of my favorite tracks on the new album, "Crack the Sky," which is totally stellar, and one of the ones where I think it's a little different, relative to everything else on the album, is a song called "Plastic Heroes." which I love for a bunch of different reasons. But do you have a set of favorites off the new album?
Well, Plastic Heroes is kind of one of them. I love that song too. There's just something about it. I love the chorus. I love the way I love the feel. I love the intro. Yeah, to me, I love that song. I would have loved to have made a video of the song.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's that one. I think the song "We Walk Alone." It came when we were writing it. It felt like it was just going to be kind of I don't want to say a throwaway number, but it felt like a good solid blues rock track. But something else happened to it, and I really put that on Robert's vocal delivery because I remember when he sang the first time he sang the chorus. We'd been singing it over Zoom, and I knew what it was going to be.
Right.
When he sang it, and he went in the studio, and I think what you're hearing on a lot of that chorus is a first take because he just. I remember I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it. He just we walk alone. He just started doing that and just wow, and the intensity that he created.
Yeah.
And then it shaped the rest of the melody, and the way he sang the rest of the melody, it just so delivered the song into another place for me. Then I think Scars the Ballad is just fabulous. Very happy with how that came out. Also, that's the bonus track for Japan, an acoustic version that we did.
Oh, solid.
Ours, that really, it's really stripped down, but man, his vocal just, once again, it just delivers it,
Yeah.
So amazing. I love the song Destiny, which is the last song on the record. That just something about that. That riff just kills me. I love it. Lot of favorite moments.
Yeah, that's cool. And one of the things I noticed about, or at least me personally, the power in which Robert sang on a lot of these tracks was really, really intense this time. Did I lose connection? I lost connection there for a second.
Cut pretty bad, so I missed it.
Yeah. Same here. Can you hear me now?
Oh, sorry. So the power.
Yeah. So Robert. Yeah. So the power for which Robert singing this time was like it reminded me of a live show of Lane Staley from Alice in Chains. That's really, really powerful. Sort of almost even in the same register a lot of the songs and it was totally awesome. Anyway, it's not really a question, more of a comment.
Well, thank you.
Once COVID is over, are you guys going to be playing live? Touring with this or?
Well, unfortunately, my Foreigner year starts May 19th, and we start playing live shows. So I don't see how we're going to be able to do live shows now or anytime soon for this, but we would love to do. We'd love to go to Japan. That's something we'd really love to do. So I'm hoping at some point. Fingers keep being crossed, but COVID really changed the whole landscape of our live performance. Period. So it's a little hard to even speculate right now.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed that whatever band you're in, getting to play live, that would be good to do it.
I know Foreigner's going to somehow figure a way to get out there. It's just that we'll probably be working so much when we do that, I won't have time for Machine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So speaking of that, you and I were talking a little bit off camera before we started about Foreigner and how I had the opportunity to see you guys play an acoustic show, an all acoustic show at Carnegie Hall, and you were just talking about that venue and what it was like to play in there. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Well, there's a reason why Carnegie Hall is such a classic place. It just sounds amazing in there. That was the thing I noticed doing the show, and it was an acoustic show, so you really, the sound was really critical.
Yeah.
But the room, it's one of those rooms where it does the work for you. You go out to sing, and it just projects, and it's beautiful, and it's an ideal sounding venue, at least up on the stage. I don't know what it's like in the audience. But it was an amazing sound, which is big for us. And when it sounds good, it's a big thing. And it was just very magical, and not magical just because, oh, wow, we're at Carnegie Hall. It's like there really is something about Carnegie Hall, the sound, the vibe,
absolutely,
just the experience. And it was very, very powerful and very wonderful.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like like I was saying, Kelly's performance was absolutely off the charts that day. Oh, he's always awesome, but like completely like didn't miss a note the entire time. And then you had a school from the area come up and sing the the chorus part. Yeah, exactly. So as you say, it was kind of one of those very magical kind of nights. So very, very cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Turning back to the end machine for a second, I just want to talk about the album cover. You showed it up earlier. What was the idea behind the album cover?
Well, I mean, we're sort of representing technology that could be contributing to the downfall, the end machine. So on the first record, we had a money counting machine from the 1920s was on the cover.
Yeah.
So figured the next step was to get a very old school computer.
Yeah, exactly. That's
found somewhere Getty Images or something, I don't know where, but found this image of this old school computer, and that was the whole plan, was to
cool.
That's the next step. I'm thinking the next album should be an ancient cell phone.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Downfall of Western civilization.
Cool. What was we'll shift gears again here. What was the very first concert you ever attended?
The very first concert I ever attended was at the Milwaukee Pop Fest, and it was the Beach Boys, Andy Kim, Tommy Rowe, the Ventures, the Ides of March, who had the song Vehicle at the time. Who else? I said the Ventures. And the reason the Ventures were popular at that point was because of the Hawaii 5-0 theme.
Yeah.
So they came out with horns and did all that. Yeah, that was quite an experience. That was over 50 years ago.
Awesome. And to carry that theme a little, one more step. Obviously, I see you're wearing your Foreigner 4 2018 T-shirt. So I'm going to assume that you're a band T-shirt guy. What was your first band T-shirt you ever got?
Oh boy, I have no idea. None. Actually, band T-shirts were not that common when I was a kid. They really weren't.
Yeah.
I mean, they were there, but I mean, if I went to a concert, I couldn't buy a T-shirt. I didn't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I don't remember ever having band T-shirts until I was kind of an adult, and I couldn't even tell you who it would have been, honestly, because I mean, I would have worn, Yes and AC/DC, and I would have worn a lot of them, but never.
And what kind of experience it is for you now, sitting on the other side, where maybe you're walking down the street and you'll see somebody wearing a band shirt that you're a member of.
What's that like?
Yeah.
Great. I mean, you think, oh, cool. That's what we're shooting for.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's cool.
Cool. Final question: what's next for you, Jeff? Like, do you have any other projects going on? What are the next things you're working on?
Actually, Rev Beach gets here on Thursday, and he's going to spend a week here, and we're going to start writing and recording the next Black Swan record that's going to come out in 2022. So
that's fantastic. Another awesome album. Big fan of that as well. So
I'm anxious to start writing with Rev. It's going to be fun.
Cool. Well, listen, Jeff, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been a thrill of mine even just to talk to you. So that's super cool.
Thank you.
I certainly hope that the End Machine Phase 2 does really, really well. It's a really awesome album. So everybody out there that's watching, please go check it out. Please go buy it. All of that stuff. It's a really, really great album. And certainly I could see it being present within the top 10 again of Still Spinning for this year's album. So thanks again.
Wonderful. We'd appreciate that.
Cool.
All right, Corey. Well, thank you so much, man. Take care.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody else out there who's watching, please remember to like and share the video, share it with your friends, like and share the actual YouTube channel as well. Because together we can get the word out that rock and roll isn't dead. There's lots of great music out there, including the new End Machine album Phase 2 that will be released on April 16th on Frontiers Records. So thanks again, Jeff. And
thank you. All right, Corey,
take care, man.
Take care. We'll talk after the Black Swan record.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. I'll hold you to that, man. Thank you very much.
Okay,
all right, take care. All right, see you later.